Someone asks you why you left early. Why you said no. Why you changed your mind, ended the friendship, took the job, didn't take the job. And before you even decide if you owe them an answer, you're already explaining, building a case, listing your reasons, making sure they understand and approve. You do this with strangers. You do this with people who have not earned the right to your reasoning. You do this even when the honest answer is simply, because I didn't want to, and that sentence alone feels too naked to say out loud. Somewhere along the way, you learned that every decision needs a defense. That silence is rude, or suspicious, or selfish. That if you don't explain yourself fully, people will think badly of you, so you talk, and hand over pieces of your reasoning to people who were never going to use them kindly. Today I want to explain what strategic silence actually is. Not coldness, not avoidance, not punishing someone with the silent treatment. A real skill, knowing when explaining serves you, and when it only costs you. And how to build it. Strategic silence is the practice of withholding explanation, not because you have something to hide, but because not every question is owed a full answer. It looks like saying I have other plans and not listing what they are. It looks like saying this isn't going to work for me without a 10-minute breakdown of every reason why. It looks like letting a decision stand on its own, without dragging it through a trial where you are both the defendant and your own lawyer. This is not the silent treatment. The silent treatment is punishment. It is silence used to make someone suffer, to control them through withdrawal. Strategic silence is the opposite. It is calm. It is not angry. It is simply the decision that your reasoning is yours, and you get to choose who receives it, and how much of it they receive. It also is not secrecy for its own sake. You are not hiding things that matter, and you are not being evasive with people who genuinely deserve context, a partner, a close friend, a business partner navigating a real shared decision. Strategic silence is selective. It is a filter, not a wall. Here is what happens when you explain everything, to everyone, all the time. First, over-explaining quietly signals that your decisions need permission. Every time you defend a choice nobody challenged, you teach the room that your no comes with an asterisk, that it's negotiable if someone pushes back hard enough on your reasons. People learn to argue with your explanation instead of respecting your decision, because you handed them the material to argue with. Second, it exhausts you in a very specific way. Explaining isn't just talking, it's performing your own credibility, over and over, to people who may not even be evaluating you as closely as you fear. That constant low-grade performance drains energy you could be spending on literally anything else. Third, it gives away information you can't take back. Your reasons, your doubts, your private timeline, once spoken, they belong to whoever you told, to use however they choose. An explanation given to the wrong person doesn't build understanding. It builds ammunition. And underneath it all, over-explaining slowly erodes your own sense of authority over your life. Every justification is a tiny vote that says, my choices require outside approval to be valid. Enough of those votes, and you stop trusting your own decisions until someone else has signed off on them. Let's understand where this comes from, with compassion. Many women learn early that being difficult or cold carries real social cost, so explaining becomes a kind of insurance. If you can just make them understand, they won't be upset with you. If your reasons are good enough, thorough enough, kind enough, maybe you won't be punished for having a boundary at all. For some, this started in families where decisions were interrogated, where a simple preference had to survive cross-examination before it was allowed to stand. You learned to have your reasons ready before you were even asked, because being asked without a ready answer felt dangerous. For others, it's tied to being the peacekeeper, the one who smooths things over, who fills silence because silence felt like conflict waiting to happen. Talking more felt like control. If you kept explaining, kept managing the narrative, maybe nobody would get hurt or angry, and the moment would stay safe. There's also a simpler route. Many of us were taught that a woman's no is only acceptable when it's justified, that femininity and agreeableness are bundled together, and a decision without an explanation reads as cold, when the same unexplained decision from someone else would just read as confident. This was not your fault. You were responding, reasonably, to real signals about what kept you safe or accepted. But it is now your responsibility to notice when the insurance policy has become a tax you no longer need to pay. Let's get specific. Here is how to know if over-explaining is running the show. If you rehearse your reasoning before a hard conversation even happens, building your defense before anyone has objected, this is you. If you feel the urge to keep talking after you've already said no, adding reason after reason as if the first one wasn't enough, this is you. If you've caught yourself explaining a decision to someone whose opinion genuinely does not affect your life, this is you. If a simple "I'd rather not" feels incomplete without 3 supporting sentences behind it, this is you. And if you've ever changed a decision, not because you changed your mind, but because you ran out of ways to defend it, this is you. None of this makes you weak or people-pleasing in some shameful way. It makes you someone who was taught that words are the price of being allowed to choose for yourself. That price was never actually required. Here is how you build the muscle of strategic silence, step by step. Step 1. Separate the decision from the defense. Before you speak, ask yourself, does this person need an explanation, or do I just feel like I owe one? Those are different questions. A decision can be complete without a defense attached to it. Step 2. Use one sentence, and stop there. Practice saying your answer once, cleanly, and then physically closing your mouth. This isn't the right fit for me. Full stop. Let the silence after it sit, even if it feels uncomfortable. You do not have to fill it. Step 3. When pushed for more, redirect instead of expanding. I've thought it through, and this is where I've landed. Repeated calmly does more work than a new explanation every time someone pushes. You are not required to generate fresh material to satisfy repeated pressure. Step 4. Reserve real context for people who've earned it. Strategic silence isn't about shutting everyone out, it's about being deliberate. Decide in advance who actually gets your full reasoning, and give it freely there. That makes the silence with everyone else a choice, not a wall. Step 5. Practice the discomfort of being misunderstood. Someone might assume the wrong reason for your silence. Let them. You cannot control every interpretation of your choices, and chasing that control is what kept you explaining in the first place. Being fully understood by everyone was never actually the goal, being at peace with your own decision is. You do not owe the world a transcript of your inner life. You do not owe every question a full answer, every decision a defense, every no a paragraph of proof that you're still a good person for saying it. Your silence is not cold. Your silence is not suspicious. Your silence is simply yours, a boundary as valid and as quiet as a closed door that doesn't need a sign explaining why it's shut. You can be warm, and open, and generous with the people who deserve your reasoning, and still hold the rest of the world at exactly the distance you choose. That is not withholding. That is discernment. That is who you are. That is who you are becoming.